its priority to eliminate the community eligibility provision from the school lunch program because the CEP allows certain schools to provide free school lunches regardless of the individual eligibility of each student.
The Republican Study Committee is like a caucus. You know, like the Democrats have the Progressive Caucus, they've got the Blue Dogs, there's a Bipartisan Problem Solvers Caucus, which is really just Republicans and conservative Democrats. No such thing as a liberal Republican. And you've got the Freedom Caucus on the Republican side. And so the Republican Study Committee is a caucus. And 3/4 of the House Republicans are members. And the Republican Study Committee released on Wednesday their desired 2024 budget, which includes, among other things, like cuts to Medicare and cuts to Social Security, which this is just the most, before we get to the school lunch thing, the amount of gaslighting that you get in right-wing media about Republicans nobody wants to cut Social Security. Nobody wants to cut Medicare. That would be crazy. While every year the Republican Study Committee comes out with a budget saying that they want to cut Medicare and Social Security, which, this caucus counts 3/4 of the House members that are Republicans as members of that caucus. And every year, this is a document that comes out basically every year. And in every year, they're like, yeah, we should cut Social Security. We should do like a 20% cut to Social Security. We should make it so that people can't have Medicare until they're like 70. Every year this shit comes out. And still, you have right-wingers in, that write columns, that come on the radio, that tell us that we're crazy for suggesting that Republicans want to cut Social Security. That tells us we're out of our minds, that we're conspiracy theorists. I don't know, that just really boggles the mind. I wonder if, I don't know. It just seems like it would be embarrassing to so brazenly lie, but maybe not. I don't know. Maybe the money's worth it. So anyway, the Republican Study Committee on Wednesday released its desired 2024 budget, in which, among those other things, the party declares its priority to eliminate the community eligibility provision, or CEP, from the school lunch program because the CEP allows certain schools to provide free school lunches regardless of the individual eligibility of each student. And this is, for some reason, a bad thing. The community eligibility provision in the free school lunch program is there for schools that are in markedly low income areas, so that is just one less thing for the school and one less thing for the students to have on their plate, and it just makes it easier, and it makes it it gives the students who qualify individually for free school lunch, it makes them have less. There's less stigma associated with it.
Right. Less chances that folks slip through the cracks.
Right.
There are people who are going to people whose income varies a lot. Mm-hmm. And so families who maybe only qualify for a reduced lunch or maybe no, benefit at all in
Mm-hmm.
August, by October or December or March, they very well may need it.
Right.
And I think when you're in a poor neighborhood, it's just common sense to just go ahead and take care of everybody rather than go through all the paperwork. And it's been a very successful program.
Right.
It's fed a lot of kids. It's kept a lot of families afloat.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is also data to indicate that that in schools with a community eligibility provision, there are more children, it obviously 100% of the children who qualify individually get this free school lunch, whereas in other communities where you don't have this community eligibility provision, only something like 60 to 70% of students who qualify get the free school lunch. So there's a lot of this benefit that is not being given to children and to families by proxy in communities where you don't have this community eligibility, and that increases student performance of those people who are kind of on the margins of who qualify, but their parents wouldn't have qualified because of just the bureaucratic hurdle. And then also those people who are kind of on the margins, like they just barely wouldn't have qualified. It increases their performance because
it's just a stability, right? Stability of knowing that you can get a meal every day. That's important, and so many of our kids come to school hungry and depend on those meals. They depend on those meals because that may be the best nutrition they get day in, day out. And for a lot of children in Alabama and across the country, that is the case. They are depending on these meals, and of course the educators recognize that hungry kids don't learn. And so it's very important that they have some basic level of nutrition so that they can actually, reap the benefits from education and learn a little bit and be successful in school. And it's really, disturbing to me that there are people who will obsess with the idea that maybe somewhere somebody is getting something they didn't deserve. They're getting a free lunch that they didn't deserve. And it's like, okay, these are children. I think they all deserve a lunch and a breakfast, and send them home with a supper. I'm fine with that. Right. Every one of them. And if there are some who maybe they wouldn't ordinarily qualify and they benefit from it, great. Okay?
Right.
That's a kid is fed, and that's important. That's what matters. A kid is fed. A kid has nutrition. A kid is able to learn that day.
Yeah.
And can move on and hopefully live a healthy life. And so that's what's important. And it's very really revealing when people show what they value.
Yeah, and so we are not shy about being critical of Democrats and Republicans, but we also, we want to try to have a clear-eyed analysis of what happens. And, so at the same time that Republicans in the House are saying we should not have free school lunch for the community in areas where the community is poor, Democrats in other states are passing free school lunch for everybody. So look, that's a difference.
Right, it is a difference, and there's economies of scale that comes into it. At a certain point, it just makes more sense to just go ahead and feed everybody.
Right. Matt Brunig for the People's Policy Project has a really great article called "The Case for Free School Lunch" that really kind of goes into the absurdity of just how small of the school's operating budget the food is, and how silly it is that there's this one aspect of public education that is not free. We've got free transportation, we've got free learning, we've got free books, we've got free supplies, we've got all this free. And then we hive off this fraction of a percent of the cost of schooling and say that this is actually the make or break thing. It teaches people responsibility. The other free stuff is not, destructive to their morality. But if we gave them free school lunch, that would be really destructive. So really, silly stuff. But that's a good article.
It doesn't. Yeah, I agree with that. It doesn't make sense. Either it's all free for the public or it's not. And so I think it's been a promising thing that this community eligibility provision and all the moves towards more universal free lunch, it's been moving in the right direction, and it is a shame to see Republicans try to reverse that. But again, that's revealing of who they are and what they're about.
Yeah. You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.